Most people aren't lacking potential. They're stuck in patterns that keep them playing small. And I always say it takes just as much energy to play small as it does to play big. Well, today's guest, Breanne Burke, she's done with that. She's a former athlete turned speaker, mentor, and personal power coach. And she's here to talk with us about rebuilding confidence, one of my favorite subjects, from the inside out. No fluff, no filters. In this episode, we talk about breaking cycles, taking ownership, and leading with bold self-trust. This isn't hype self-empowerment. This is about doing the deep work that changes everything. So if you're ready to stop second guessing yourself and start standing in your power, this is an episode you do not want to miss. My name is Nada Nasserdeen, and welcome to the Rise Up For You podcast. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Rise Up For You podcast. This is your host, Nada Nasserdeen. Let's jump in and bring to the show someone that is a new, I would say, friendship, new relationship. Her name is Breanne Burke, and she's joining us all the way from Canada. And right now I'm on the other side of Canada in Alberta. So welcome to our show, Breanne.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely. Before we jump into the meats and potatoes of the podcast, I always love for our guests to share a little bit more about, who you are, what you do, and kind of what got you to where you are today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'll give the Coles notes of my story. As I said, I'm Breanne Burke. I'm a mindset coach for millennial women. I started my own personal development journey back, I would say, honestly, in 2016, 2017. I did the whole standard post-university. I didn't even go to my graduation. I booked a plane ticket and went abroad for 2 years.
I love that.
And of course, you learn a lot about yourself. Now, what I want to say here is not that I think you need to go travel to find yourself, because I know that narrative is really pushed on people. But naturally, when you travel a lot on your own, you learn a lot about yourself. All the highs are highs, the lows are lows. You understand how resilient and capable you are, especially from coming from a small town. Now, I'm from Niagara Falls, Canada, although it is well known, it is a small town.
Yeah.
And I am one of very few people that actually left. So the constant note in conversation that I was getting around that is, you're so brave. Oh my goodness, you left. All these things, right?
Yeah.
So I was exposed to that, which kind of opened my world to what I was capable of. Now, innately as an individual, I was always very unapologetically ambitious from a very young age. I pushed the norms, I pushed comfort zone, and I just always wanted to do things that people weren't doing. Also, tradition wasn't something that really resonated with me. And I can say I'm 33 now. I'm in a long-term relationship, and I'm just coming around to the idea of kind of starting a family and wanting to get married. And that was because I just always had very, very big dreams for myself. So I always felt like I was on a bit different of a path. So this led to a number of big decisions in my life. At that time, when I came home from traveling, okay, just to give a timeline for people to reference, I was in my mid-20s. So I was about 25, 26. At that point, I had been in a 7-year relationship. I came home. I had my one and only epiphany. I swear, I've never had an epiphany since then. I woke up one morning and realized I don't know what it is that I want, but I know I don't want this. I ended the relationship quite abruptly in the sense of not being able to give closure, not being able to give a reason, and nothing was wrong. I just knew this wasn't what I wanted. I moved back in with my parents, and I naturally, because I just had lived abroad post-university that I put myself through, I was very broke, very, very broke. So this was a pivotal season in my life to kind of get my gears going, trying to understand who it is that I am, what it is that I want to do. So at that time, I worked several different jobs, including like working at the Standard nightclub, to rack in cash and do what I can to put myself through a yoga teaching certification. Now, I did that. And to a degree, that obviously led the path that I was going down. And I had no desire to teach, but I knew I wanted to be in a community that was very different than my own.
Yeah.
That kind of forced me down this path of just learning more and more about myself, peeling back layers, seeing what was underneath the surface. And then what was interesting, because I feel like with the younger generation today, it's so great because entrepreneurship is very talked about. It's a hot topic. It's very encouraged. It's very like big, like dream big and go after your dreams and create the life that you want. But I kind of built my business more so based on things that I fell into, what I had desired, like what the desire that I had in my heart. So that led me to become certified in NLP, EFT, life and success coaching. And then that created my podcast. Fast forward a number of years, and there's been so many chapters since then, but that brings us pretty much to 2025. Here we are today.
I love that. Okay, so I'm curious because we hear the things about the iGen and the millennials and they're a certain way.
Mhm.
I'm curious for you, what was it that because what I'm hearing from you is curiosity, right? Like there
Mhm.
was, instead of just like taking the traditional path, there sounded like you, Breanne, that you had this curiosity in you that was like, I wonder what would happen if I do this and if I go travel instead of just taking the traditional route. Where do you think that curiosity came from? Did it come from parenting? Is it just something that you had inside of you? Was it the environment that you were surrounded in? Like where did that come from for you in particular?
That's such a good question. I honestly think it was innate. Like, as I said, kind of pointed out at the beginning, I wasn't always an extremely ambitious kid. I wasn't ever the smartest kid in school, and I wasn't the most athletic, but I was always very ambitious. I always wanted to push the norms. However, of course, now looking back at all these patterns, my parents were extremely supportive and they were very encouraging of anything I wanted to go after, but it was never expected of me. It was always my idea to like, I want to apply to this job. I want to travel here. I want to live here. I want to do this. It was always my idea. But it's very clear to me now that I've had to do a lot of deprogramming, in the sense that I attached a lot of my self-worth to my productivity. I did it for the praise. When I was really good at things, I would like push really hard to try to be the best at it, even if it didn't feel aligned, even if I didn't particularly like it. And it was for that validation, to feel like I'm worthy. And obviously, as we know, that only sticks around for so long till you're on to the next thing, right? So it was a lot of chasing. So it's taken a lot of work for me to be actually grounded in what it is that I'm doing and the intention and purpose why I'm doing the things that I'm doing.
Yeah, but what I like, and thank you for sharing, is that it was a process and a journey for you, but you're doing the hard work. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of times we forget that if we want to see different results, like we actually have to do the work, and it's going to be hard and it's going to be ugly. But if we don't really step into that, we're never going to come out on the other side the way that we want. And so I appreciate you kind of sharing that, like, hey, I didn't like this, just didn't fall in my lap. Like I, struggled and had to kind of redefine myself and figure out what the next steps were. So now today, you're working with an awesome community. And I know that you talk a lot about self-confidence, and you talk a lot about like really, being your best self and building a life that you're proud of. That's the terminology that we use. What are some of the biggest challenges you see with your clients, with your community, really just where the world is going? I understand that you're in Canada, but in America and Canada, there's a lot of similarities. So I'm just curious from your perspective.
Yeah, I feel like I have such a strong opinion on this, like now more than ever, particularly in the last 2 years. And let me give a little bit of context as to why that is because for a lot of my listeners, and I bet a lot of yours as well, again, we are unapologetically ambitious women, right? Naturally, we're probably a little bit type A. We're go-getters. We're extremely resourceful. Taking messy action actually comes fairly easy to us. It's not that we have a difficult time checking off a checklist. Give me a checklist, give me a program, and I will crush it all day. You know what
Give me
I
my
mean?
planner and my system.
I need it color coded. Like that is not an issue. And as I said, there was a lot of chasing in my past, and that worked until it didn't. And we are now at a day and age where social media, although it's so beautiful, look at us here today, being able to connect so quickly and have this conversation. We are in a place where things are moving so quickly. Our nervous system, our subconscious mind, all of it is not equipped to actually keep up with the information that we are being given. Everybody is very dysregulated. Everybody is having struggles with comparison nonstop because the endless dopamine hits, and we just don't know how to keep up with like the pace of today's world. So naturally, this also reflects in the wellness, personal development era. And why I'm saying this is because I started my journey, as I noted, several years ago, but because I am such a go-getter and because I wanted to achieve, the pendulum, like many others, swung too far. I went too far. I became fixated to live in this vortex of fixing and healing and obsessing about all of the things that need to be adjusted. And I was so busy over analyzing my life that I wasn't actually living my life. And I think a lot of people struggle with this today, right? So circling back, that has led me to about 2 years ago. Now, this is a time and a place where I've created and built a business. I have an established podcast. I've been showing up online. I'm a certified life coach. I'm teaching yoga when I choose to, whatnot. And I'm surrounded by really beautiful leaders. I start to have chronic panic attacks. I develop a full anxiety disorder. And at first, I didn't even know what it was. Like I was started to have panic attacks and I didn't actually understand what it is. Now, fast forward, I realized I was so obsessed with personal development and fixing myself and labeling everything and identifying everything and having all of these excuses that I was, again, no longer living my life. So where I'm at today is I have downscaled a lot of that. There is a time and a place for everything, but what it is, it's the importance of having the actual self-awareness to have the discernment that you need to understand what it is you actually need in that time, and that is supportive. Because I think people also enter this space and they're like, I need to be open to crystals, meditation. I need to be doing breath work. I need to be doing cold plunges. I need to be doing all of these things. And because, again, very similar probably to yourself, we have curious minds. We're open. We want to learn. But I now understand that at the foundation of absolutely everything is habits. Absolutely everything we do is habitual. The way we think, the way we act, the way we towel off after a shower, the way we eat, and how we kind of navigate our life. And I realized my habits were literally crippling me inside. And so that is what I'm noticing in a lot of clients, in a lot of conversations. People are in this fixing vortex and they're having a really hard time getting out of it.
I like that thank you for sharing all that, because I think that you're spot on in that sometimes as individuals, we create these habits for ourselves to help us build success, but then we become so like fixated and obsessed with it that it ends up stressing us out. And so then it sabotages and cripples us versus serves us, right? And something that you said and when you were talking is building these habits that actually make sense for you, because it's not cookie cutter, right? You know, like not everyone's going to go do a cold plunge at 4 a.m. That might not work for the individual, but what does work for you that helps you feel fresh, that awakens your body, that helps you feel like, you know, you can earn and go get the day. You know, I know for me, I was in a similar place where everyone's like, okay, wake up, you journal, then you meditate. And I'm like, well, I don't really like journaling. You know what I mean? And meditating for me, I like silence more than meditation. And so I started to just understand like what works for me, but that's going to get me that same result, right? Of a groundedness, of a connectedness, of like building an energy within me before I start my day. And so I think it's important for people to understand building habits are critical, but find the ones that make sense for you, not the ones that, you know, you're seeing in a book all the time. There's a ton of habits we can build. Pluck the ones that you're like, yeah, this works for me.
Yeah, absolutely. You should have seen me a number of years ago. My morning routine was 3 hours. And I'm like, what was I doing? I used to do all of these things because I had, this massive checklist, but I actually don't know if it was doing anything for me at that time. And the best thing about habits is you can break them and you can form new habits. It's all in congruence with building your neural pathways, right? Your neural pathways being in your subconscious mind, they are dictating your day in and day out of how you operate and show up in your life. And it takes time to prune neural pathways. But over time, if you're consistent enough with your habits, it will just become your reality. And then you'll look back and you won't even know, when did that change? When did I stop feeling that way? It will just be building momentum, and everything in life needs momentum, right? Friendships, relationships, finances, work, dreams, goals, all of it. Everything needs momentum. And the initiation process is tough when you're initially starting to form and break habits, right? But once you get past that, it really is like a compound effect.
I love that. So talk to us a little bit about, okay, for those of us that are listening that are thinking I am sucked, like I'm sucked in this process right now and I'm in this rabbit hole of like trying to get my footing. What are just a few steps that you would say can help somebody really step into success by building some of these small habits without stressing themselves out, without like going into a place of stress and anxiety around what they're doing and more of a place of groundedness and peace?
Okay, that's a great question. I have a couple things. When you're building habits, obviously it's with the intention of you ultimately building confidence in all areas. We immediately just think of confidence. We kind of maybe think of how we physically look or just what we feel like when we walk into a room, but like confidence in all areas of your life, right? So confidence, the root of confidence is self-trust. The more you trust yourself, the more confident you will be, because you could fall on your face, you'll get back up. Things will work out, right? You're capable of surviving the situation at hand. So a way that you can actually start to build confidence, and this is really a reflection of it, I personally feel like is going on again today because we're so dysregulated and overstimulated.
Yeah.
We're having a difficult time really deciphering between anxiety and our intuition, because to be honest, at times they can feel slightly similar. But if you're so used to anxiety, it's really difficult to understand the difference between the two. So when you're going about your day, obviously we have to make multiple decisions a day, right? No matter how big, no how small, I want you to ask yourself, if I don't do this, will this feel easier or will this feel lighter for me not to do? If it feels easier not to do, it's probably your anxiety, because your anxiety, it wants to keep you where it knows, the familiar. It wants to keep you in your comfort zone. It wants to take the path of least resistance. Our only job of our subconscious mind is obviously to keep us safe. It does not care if we're happy. So when, again, you're going through that initiation process, I'm saying in quotation marks, it is pushing against the trenches a little bit. However, if it feels lighter, you're like, no, I'm capped, I am tired, I am burnt out, and you make a decision and it literally feels like a weight is lifted off of your shoulders, that is your intuition. The more you lean into your intuition, the stronger your self-trust will become and the more confident you will be. Okay, this is something that you can just start doing regularly. Another thing that you can do, it's a little bit more work in the upfront, a little bit more legwork, but it is really important to do like a lifestyle energy audit. Where are you spending your time, money, and energy?
I like that.
You really need to understand what is and is not serving you, and you will start to see how much time you're consuming news, information, social media, where you're spending money. Are you spending it on lattes every day? And then you're not understanding why you can't contribute to your emergency fund. Like, you really need to blow your life up in a massive blueprint and get clarity on things that you've been turning a blind eye to. That will be a really, really great, strong foundational point to start off on, like building these habits that you want to really pursue.
Yeah. I love the time audit.
Yeah.
I love, it's interesting because my team has done it in the company, like around like, where's your time going? But I actually never really looked at it from a whole life perspective. I mean, we do a lot of whole life leadership, right? Like, we believe that you can build a life where you have it all, right? And then like, how much time each week are you putting toward these buckets that you need, right? Family, romance, taking care of your health, financially, all these things. But, really sitting down and seeing like, where is my time going in my whole life is such a great strategy, because oftentimes we will recognize, I always say, and Breanne, maybe you can resonate with this, is, we say like family is the most important. My health is the most important. Maybe God is the most important. But you're right. If we do a time audit or time assessment, we might see that, wow, only 1% of my week is going towards health, or 1% of my week is going towards romance, or going towards the things that I say are the most important. But when I actually look at where my time is going, it's put on the back burner. So I think that time assessment is so important. It's revealing on like how we can really take a shift.
Yeah. And I think that's obviously very reflective of what your values are. Understanding that values can change and will change over time, depending on the season that you're in your life. But a really easy exercise to do in correlation with the actual lifestyle energy audit. Now, just to say about that, what I actually get my clients to do is for 3 days straight, literally 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., like document what it is that they're doing.
I love that.
But in going back to values, another easy thing is you could grab Brené Brown's value list. There's
Yeah.
probably 50 on there, if
Yes,
not
I've
more.
seen it. Yep.
And you can literally go circle your top 5 values right now and then look at your energy tracker, right? That you've done and literally depict like what is contributing to your actual top 5 values and what is not. And it's mind blowing at how much they are disaligned. And then people are confused why they feel stuck, why
I love
they
that.
are
Yep.
confused, why they feel flat, right? It's because things are out of alignment.
Yeah, I love that.
Mhm.
Breanne, this has been a great conversation. I'm super happy that we were able to bring you on the podcast. I'd love to jump into the power section of the interview and just ask you a few rapid fire questions.
Please go ahead.
Okay. So first question is, if you were to leave the world with one final message, we call it our golden nugget here at Rise Up For You. What would your golden nugget be?
Start taking ruthless accountability for your own participation in your own human experience.
I love that. And as you know, we teach a lot of soft skills here, the skills that we find to be the most important: self-confidence, emotional intelligence, leadership, and influential communication. Self-confidence, we find, unfortunately, is one of the biggest challenges for individuals. If you were to rate yourself today on self-confidence, 1 through 10, 10 being amazing and 1 being danger zone, what would Breanne give herself today?
Today, I think I'm at an 8.5.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I have one more question for you. But
Okay.
before I ask, tell the audience where we can find you, where we can go to your website, Instagram, social media, so they can connect with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for this conversation. Really easy. My Instagram, website, TikTok, all at Breanne Burke, first and last name. And then I also have a podcast called Becoming with Breanne Burke. If you've liked this conversation, what we've had to share and how it's flowed, it's very similar over there. So feel free to tune in.
Awesome. Very good. And final question. As you know, we are Rise Up For You. What comes to mind when you hear that phrase?
Oh, I feel like the relationship with yourself is the most important one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's exactly right.
Good.
Yeah. Breanne, thanks for joining us on the Rise Up For You podcast. It's been an honor to have you on our show today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And thank you everyone for joining the Rise Up For You podcast. Again, this is your host, Nada Nasserdeen. Every single week, we are bringing to you amazing leaders, entrepreneurs, executives from around the world to help you and your team be your absolute best. I will see you on the next episode. Don't forget to subscribe and share this episode if it resonated with you. Share it with your friends, family, and coworkers. We all need a little bit more mindfulness and self-care in our life. Breanne, thanks again for joining us.
Thanks.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Before you leave, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel and check us out on social media. We are everywhere, from LinkedIn to Instagram to Facebook, at our simple handle at Rise Up For You. On every single platform, it's exactly the same. And we're providing new content on every single platform, so there's something different everywhere. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel, subscribe to our podcast, and connect with us on social media. I'll see you next time.